Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And that's why we're honored to be talking about Tucker's House. We're honored to have with us Graham Honeycutt, Executive Director of Tucker's House. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Jeremy. It's just a pleasure to be here.
Well, you all are doing tremendous good, working with families, helping children, adaptations for homes. There's a lot to unpack, but let's start. Give us a little bit of history for Tucker's House.
Yeah, so Tucker's House will be around 15 years in September. It's founded by our founder, Sonny Rosenbaum, whose grandson, his name is Tucker, so hence the name Tucker's House. He was born with cerebral palsy. Around the age of 4, Sonny just noticed that, her son and daughter-in-law needed some modifications to their home for Tucker. And she just said, oh, well, there's got to be some community-based program that helps with this, whether it's government or a nonprofit. And she just, being the grandmother she was, she just kept calling and calling, and she could not find anything. And so she just said, well, if this doesn't exist, I'm going to help create it. And she had the background to do it in architectural design and construction to found it. So yeah, we're still here going strong and almost 15 years later.
You have your own personal storyline with Tucker's House. So share some of your personal story.
Yeah, so my family was a client of Tucker's House first, actually. So my oldest daughter, Michaela, was born with disabilities, and Tucker's House actually came in and did some small modifications for us with a ramp and helped us actually with the bed. And unfortunately, Michaela passed away 5 years ago, but Sonny, I had stayed in touch with her, and she was looking to pass off the organization and to retire. And so she reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in leading this forward? And I said, well, yeah, let's take a look at what that would look like. But yeah, it's a very personal mission, and it's really just, I think it's a privilege and honor to do this work. So.
Well, and to your point, to know firsthand the impact and then to be able to be a blessing for so many others, it's a powerful opportunity to serve. And so when you talk about serving, go ahead and talk about what you do at Tucker's House.
Yeah, so we provide home modifications for families who have children or young adults with disabilities.
And so talk about how all this magic works, because there is a process and there is
Yes.
A lot of obviously labor and strategy. And so give us an idea of the process.
Yeah, so we start with an assessment. And so we start with applications. The applications come in if you have a documented disability and you meet our financial qualifications, because we pay for all the modifications to be done. So we start there, and then we start with an assessment. We actually, I think what makes this really unique is we start with a physical or occupational therapist who does an assessment first, who knows the diagnosis of the child, but also the prognosis. So we go ahead and craft a modification plan that will last a lifetime with that individual with a disability, because the therapist can let us know, well, maybe they're ambulatory, able to walk now, but they might not be able to when they hit puberty because of the nature of the diagnosis, or, this is a progressive disability. So they can let us know that. So we can go ahead and plan for that future. So we don't have to go back in 5 years and redo a bathroom or whatever it is. So once we have done that and agree to a scope of work with the families, then we bring on an architect who will help us draw, a modification plan of what that, typically bathrooms is, the biggest need of where we would need the architect. So bring in an architect, and then we go out and get bids from different general contractors in the community to do the work. Or sometimes we have great financial partners who are willing to come in and help provide those modifications at, in-kind donation, or donate the labor and we just pay for the materials. So that's kind of the process from start to finish. Obviously there's, lots of intricacies, but for the purpose of the listeners, I think that's a pretty good, overview of the process and how we step it out.
Give us an idea of numbers. How many families roughly? Talk about some of the stats that warm your heart.
Sure. Yeah. So last year we impacted 16 families specifically with home modifications. We did 51 projects within that. So that it is just very heartwarming because we get to know these families so well, right? It's like, and these modifications are complicated. So, maybe that number doesn't sound like a huge number to somebody, but it's like if you saw all the, like when you think about the therapists and the architects and lining up the contractors, there's a lot of work that goes into making those modifications happen. But, it's also our process is very individualized. Every family is different, every home is different, every home environment is different. And even if a child has the same diagnosis, how that presents itself within that context is very different. So, we take a very individualized approach and make sure that we are listening to the families to make, this home safe and, accessible and inclusive as possible for them and what works. So
what's the
yeah.
geographical spread for Tucker's House in terms of how far out you reach and with the families that you're serving?
Yeah, so right now we serve Middle Tennessee. We'd love to be able to expand that. We get calls from all over. We get calls from Oregon and New York and Pennsylvania, just like, hey, what can we do in my community? But right now, for what works for our resources, we serve the Middle Tennessee area and 35-mile driving radius from Nashville, Franklin out. So
when you talk about these sort of projects, has there been, because obviously the cost, continues to increase for labor, for supplies, how does all that get factored in? I know you mentioned you've got some who are extremely generous and, in kind donate the labor and the products and, the equipment over here, but how does that impact between supplies, labor? How does all that factor in with your efforts with Tucker House?
Yeah, I mean, great question. Now you know what it sit like in this seat, right? But construction inflation has actually outpaced regular inflation. So we've seen, quite a bit of increase in terms of construction and labor costs that go along with what we do. So, and we are also 100% privately funded. So we receive no public or ongoing funding. So it is very much it's a cash flow. It's very much looking at what are the grants and the donations that are coming in. And, we really raise, funds for each individual project to make sure, okay, well, we've got this one fully funded, so let's go ahead and execute it. So we work in an ongoing basis to try to, make sure that we've raised the funds that are needed to execute each of these projects. And then we just, it's kind of, you go and you do it again and you just keep and thankfully we have a very generous community that, steps up and helps fund. So.
You definitely don't have to name names, but share a story that puts a smile on your face in terms of working with a family, helping a child, what it means to them, kind of walking through that journey with them. So share a story, a testimonial of impact.
Sure. Yeah. Other than just even personally, right? Like, just thinking about my personal story, but there was one that, I like to share that I was really early on because even in our case with Michaela, like she was younger and when she passed away, so we had some different set of needs, but we had this single mom whose son was 16 at the time, and he weighed, and due to the nature of his disability, he weighed over 250 pounds, so quite a large individual. And so the only way that she could give him a bath was to literally, she put a towel under him on the bed. She dragged him as gently as she could to the floor. And then she would drag him on a towel on the floor across the bedroom to the bathroom. Now they had a tub, so she couldn't lift him up then into the tub. So she would just splash water over the tub onto the side to just be able to give her son a bath. And I just remember thinking, well, wow, I mean, you look at the need that's there, but I'm also just like, wow, that mom is a superhero. I mean, just to be able to do that. And this was just her routine. And so being able to go in, and now, we still keep in touch with the families right now, the son being 21 years old, and she's, still able to to wheel him into the bathroom and to give him a shower with dignity. And, and also, she was already having rotator cuff issues from all that manual lifting and everything. So just to see like her health, like, I feel like even when we went in, she just kind of had this like hunched back, and it was just, just overuse of muscle. Like, her son weighed more, like she was lifting more than her body weight to do these. So just to be able to stay in touch with her. And that was, for me, that was really early on. That was like one of the first projects we did. So that one just always kind of resonates. I'm sure there's others, right? But that one always just really resonates because it was kind of that first, impact to like the real need that exists out there. And then just being able to alleviate some of that. And we know we're not going to solve all these families' problems, right? There's a lot that goes into raising a child with a disability, but we feel like this is one thing we can do. Like, of all the places, when the world's not built for your child, your home can at least be that place of respite. Like, you can have a home that works and it's safe for you. That's really impactful for us. So,
as your story illustrates too, like it's the immediate impact on the child, on the young man, but it's also too the larger ripple impact, the effect for the family, right? For the mother, for, everyone in the family. And I think the hope, the inspiration, the physical side, like all of that is really powerful with what you're doing and that larger ripple effect of what you're creating. So carry that into how can the community help your efforts? How can the community help lift Tucker's House?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two big ways. Well, there's really three big ways, but one is if you have a specific construction skill, or of a general contractor or someone who might be willing to donate or work with us, that's a big need. But apart from that, just like the general community, I mean, obviously financial support helps. These projects, average about $30,000 a project that we complete. So just think about, the effort that goes into raising funds to do that. So, and then I also just think awareness. So we actually started a TV show last year. It's a digital TV show on our YouTube channel called House to Home. And it's our version of an HGTV style show where we give you a behind the scenes look, interview the family, and you get to see that, this is what it looks like when we go in. You get to see the before and after. So, just sharing that too, oftentimes that can also lead to financial support. So if you're going on, you watch those, you interact with us, you share those videos, that helps us find new resources and brings attention also to, and it really does. I use that word dignity a lot because it really just does provide dignity to the families too. Like, they oftentimes struggle in silence. They're in their homes and they're doing this. Like, this mom isn't broadcasting to the world, hey, I got to do this every day for my son, right? So she's got this silent struggle that none of us would see, but getting that up close figure to like really, and I think that's what's been so beneficial with the show is it's like, you matter. Let us hear your story, and to see the community interact with that is really, really neat. And it just helps the families feel seen. In addition to just the modifications, it helps them feel seen and that they matter and that their child matters. I mean, I think all of us want that, right? So
how has this role changed you and your perspective? Because I'm thinking just like that, in many cases, you can feel isolated, but then when you look around and you see this community and also how you can be a change maker and a blessing for others, how has it changed your perspective on your ability to make a difference and your role in the larger context of the community?
Wow. Yeah. That's a really good question. I mean, I think for me, having lived this story and having had this personal impact, I think how it's changed me is just, even that it's like, we were focused kind of on our family environment just to see, okay, there's all these other families out there. And it's like how much we can each like learn from each other. And then for me personally, to really feel like that integrator, because something to know about me too is like I have no construction background. When I started, I had a nonprofit background, but I did not know, I'm probably like, I still pinch myself sometimes. I'm like the last person I think I'd work in construction. Like, I'm not even that handy, like around the house. So to me, it's just been humbling to like, I'm just here as that change maker to help bring all the resources together. And that's what Tucker's House does. Like, we don't necessarily do all the things, right? But we help pull together all these resources. We pull the therapists in, we pull the architects in, we pull the contractors in, we pull these resources in. So I think for me, like, that's how my perspective has changed. Is, even when I was like, well, I still am Michaela's dad, but like physically taking care of her every day, like it felt like, okay, a lot of this is on me and I need to do this. And I think it's really just opened my eyes to, when there is a need, like sometimes it's just, making other people aware and then bringing resources in to help. And it's not all like, oh, I have to do this all on my shoulders. I think, it's really changed my perspective in that sense. So,
Yeah, and I think the other beautiful thing of what you're doing too is engaging the community. You're building relationships, you're building community, you're building empathy and kindness and respect and all of these things by bringing all these different people and entities together to be a part of that journey with the family and then to share their stories with the show. I think all of this is really tightening and building a stronger community as well, which I think is another powerful piece of what you're doing. And so wrap up with contact information, website. Where do we go to learn more about Tucker's House? Where do we go to start getting involved?
Yeah, I mean, so our website's tuckershouse.org. You can go and see a lot of the resources that I mentioned today. If you want to see our process written out, it's on there and how we can help. You can see our current slate of families, Zoe and Christina and Jude. You can see the current projects we have going on, plus some of the past projects that we've served as well. And you can also, we have a link at the top for house to home videos. That's the TV show. So you can find that from there and click through to our YouTube channel. But yeah, you can get in touch with that. You can reach out to me as well. You can find me on LinkedIn, Graham Honeycutt. Or you can also reach me through the website. If you go through like the number, you can click through and talk to the executive director. So yeah, you can get in touch with me that way too. So
makes it easy. The website again, tuckershouse.org. So Graham, thank you for all you and your amazing team do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you for all you do and helping to highlight others who are powering the good, and just a real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.